Hi guys, it's Verts here. So today we're going to go through people's work that they put on the showcase inside of the Discords. So I was thinking of a way to showcase people's work, especially when they finished it. Obviously as an artist, you want to get your name out there. You never know who's looking, and also it's nice for other people's to look at your own work, especially if you spent a long time with it. So I was thinking of making these sort of monthly events where we go through the channel inside of the showcase, and also extract examples that are popular on ArtStation. We basically just talk about why they're good, why you'd want them on a portfolio, and maybe some improvements here and there. But fundamentally it's a celebration of all the art that we've made, and we can have a discussion around that. So the first is from Axel CL, who created this undead sort of night scene. It's really cool actually, the way he's demonstrated the dynamics of it, the light passing. Whenever you do a video, it's always nice to showcase your work like that, especially if you can do it with an animation. And this project was quite interesting because it's someone who progressed in the works in progress forum. We definitely did a lot of back and forth in terms of improvement. So I think some of the feedback we gave was that the composition could be improved, and a couple of the other shots. So this one in particular we've followed for a long time, and the improvements have been really vast. It's also really nicely presented. So as I look through portfolios looking for highs and things like that, I really want a nice experience when I'm scrolling through, and I believe that this really makes like a nice experience. I can see the topology, I can see the skills there, and just make sure that there's no sort of errors. And also there are nice turnarounds where I don't have to sort of scroll through images endlessly, and I think it's all nicely presented. So definitely examples for you guys can be taken from that, and congratulations to the artist for sticking to this and implementing all the feedback. I think it's come out as a really good portfolio piece. So if we just look at the full portfolio, make sure you come on here and follow this artist, do the likes, and we can all support each other, you know, like each other's artwork and come up together. So overall looking like a nice portfolio that's developing here. Next piece of art's from Maran G, who's done this kind of hell scream, slightly stylized, which is interesting. And again, it's another nice entry, well posed, obviously rendered out in Marmoset, which transfers over to other real-time engines, like if you want to put it into Unreal Engine, for example. The only thing I would sometimes say is that I'd prefer to see things in Unreal, so it just demonstrates that it's inside of the game's engine. That's just from someone who's hired on games, but Marmoset's good because it can be inserted into any old engine like Unity, etc. And also it's really fast. So in terms of the art, I think it's really cool. You've done some special effects here, sort of like the floating elements. Maybe there's some slight blur and camera distortions, and you've done a bottom plate, so it's nice homogeneous design that's like fitting in the world. So I think it's a really nice presentation. This is a really cool sheet, so whenever I'm teaching students, actually as part of their submission, we ask them to do something very similar to this, and it's just a single card that shows topology or your UV layouts. It's almost like a snapshot, so we can see what sort of character and technical skills you've put into it. So I think your topology is displayed quite well. Potentially maybe just change the color of the wireframe. It makes it a little bit easier to see, but it's really nice to see these layouts. It really reminds me of the legacy way of texturing, where we'd make them in Photoshop and then sort of like overlay AO and cavity and things like that. But we can see everything here, so it's a good layout. Again, very similar to the last one. It's nice to see that you've put a turntable so we can get up and close. Sometimes with stylized, there's not so much detail there, so it can be a bit difficult. The only thing I also suggest is try and get some lights moving around as well, because if you've done a stylized, you've got some really nice like metal elements in there. If you had some reflectivity or the environment was turning, it would just really enhance it. And it's obviously always nice to see a Marmoset viewer. So for example, if you were sending this portfolio out and I was looking at it, usually I go straight to the Marmoset previewer, look at all the maps, the channels, the try counts. There's a lot of information that I can garner from here to see what sort of artist you are, especially the try count. So for example, down here I can see it's under 70k, and then I can look into the reflectivity, the albedo, and when it comes to topology, I really look and see what sort of skills the person has in topology. I'll often sort of look at it at these angles, really sharp angles, and really get nice and close with it. So sometimes these can be good, sometimes they can be bad, but if you're confident about your topology, if you supply one of these maps, it definitely adds a lasting impact. So I highly suggest sort of Marmoset previewers. So again, I would like you, and look forward to your future stuff. In terms of your portfolio, we'll do like a little review. Yeah, you've got high quality pieces. I wouldn't say that there's anything lacking that's sort of showing how you've built up over the years. Sometimes people leave their legacy projects in there and you can really see how they've upgraded over time. But I think these are very similar, and obviously your most recent Hell Screen, that's by far the best one. When it comes to Say, for example, looking for a new character artist and a hire, one of the things I'll do is I'll often look and see how many strong pieces there are, and then from that I can garner how long they've been learning versus how long they've been in the industry. That's just like an interesting caveat that you guys can take away from that. So next I'm actually going to go through an industry submission. I think it's really strong. There's a lot of tips that we can get outside of that. Before I move on, just recently, now that it's March, I'm releasing a new membership program. So if you're interested in getting like additional feedback like we're doing now in live sessions where you can talk back and forth, learn from others and get an enhanced level of like Discord access and things like that with members videos, I've clustered them all together and we're going to start it this month. So if you want to get on that early, just click the join button below. But apart from that, all the public videos, they're going to be free. I really enjoy getting people into the industry and letting them pick up like a new passion and hobby. But if you want that little bit extra and maybe think about getting a job in the industry and want to get there faster, then definitely these membership programs are going to help you a lot. I saw this, it's from Western Reed. It's like another stylized lead character artist, former at Blizzard. So obviously lots of experience on how to do the painterly style, but it's really cool. I really like to see animation in combination with a movement. If you look at this, it's almost got stylized animation. There's some sort of breathing and distortion. So with stylized, you obviously get stylized animation with like stretching and twisting that can be enhanced. So it seems that they put it inside of this stylized character for an additional effect. But overall, really nice. A nice little hack for you guys. Always look at the software used. So obviously they've used ZBrush. That's kind of like the industry standard. Modo's slightly off. Maybe that's kind of like an older thing that they picked up. Obviously rendered in Marmoset. So for the stylized people, usually Substance Painter is nice, but you can also use 3D Coat. So if you're more used to like Photoshop, we can take it into 3D Coat and do that like stylized, especially Blizzard effect. I know that they use that heavily. So the cool thing about this submission as well is that we've got a Marmoset viewer, so you can really get in and see what sort of topology they've used. So I'm not going to lie, the topology's like not great, but probably they're not focused on topology. They just wanted to get something out that they could paint on top of. So you can see that because it's about almost 300k tries. This wouldn't be acceptable in a games engine. We basically have to send that back to someone. But the artist is probably being very clear that he just wants something that he can paint on. He or she is not so clear. Nice UV layouts, take it into 3D Coat and then do like the stylized effect. So with these stylized, a lot is resting on the albedo. So we'll often paint in sort of like little shine effects. You can see with the metal, we've got some slight highlights there. So skills in 2D concepting is going to be handing in like traditional painting in combination with the 3D elements. So lots of really decent use of coloring. So for example, we're mixing around the hues, changing the lightness, and also highlighting any edges with our albedo. So you've got to remember that this is actually a flat surface color that we're looking at with no shading. But from a distance, it actually looks like it's three-dimensional because the artist has put in highlights and shadows. So that's the sort of style that they've gone to. But also, whenever someone does stylize in 3D, I say it's a bit of a shame to not use reflectivity and gloss. So the artist has used it where it matters. So for example, on the metal trims and sort of like the inside buckles with a little bit of coloration there. The only thing that they have to be aware of is that the gloss and the painted highlight are going to interact in ways that might be slightly unrealistic, but I don't believe that'll be too much of a problem. We can sort of see how it works here. So if I hold shift in a viewer, I can scroll the highlights across. And I'd say it's actually not working so well on the trims here because we've got sort of like breaking the valley of realism because we've got a static highlight that's locked in on the albedo, and then we've got a nice shiny element surface here. It works really well on the vials there. So maybe just something for your own consideration when you're doing stylized if you want those specular highlights and reflectance. But really, really strong character. The sculpt is solid. It almost stands on its own. And they've done some nice layouts here. Not really sure the base grayscale, full grayscale. This is just so probably for their painting effects. So they've obviously done their block out. They've posed it in ZBrush. I'd probably suggest not posing it directly in ZBrush. You first really want to do like an A pose and then pose it after because it gives you more options to do different things. But it seems that this person just wanted like a very specific shot and they were copying that. And the base grayscale and the full grayscale, that's just to make sure that they've got full range of values. So in the 2D color, making sure that it all pops. That's a traditional 2D technique that we use in concepting. So really cool. Check out Western Reed, follow him and like his sort of stuff. Here we have another Mutiny member who's posted in the showcase. And so this is MTO Kumar, and he's done like a stylized sword. So it's nice to see that you've done the initial thumbnail. Obviously, when people are looking through ArtStation, everything's based on thumbnails, so it's nice and squared. and also very easy to see on a phone. So those are considerations that I think working well here. The design's really nice. I think it's got an interesting silhouette, and it's also got a homogeneous theme of like that nautical element. I think in terms of presentation, maybe one thing that could be improved is basically the dimensions that you're working with. So you've got a full widescreen shot, but then you've got an upright weapon here. So maybe you could make use of the screen space a little bit more. Maybe put it on its side and double it up with another of the same sword on the other end, or maybe just do like a nice little scene there. I think it would really benefit your post here. So this is very interesting what you've done. You've sort of done the top and the bottom, and it's fitting better, so we can see all the little intricate details, which is nice. The only other thing I would say is probably there's a little bit too many shots for my liking. When there's many submissions and emails for job roles, basically, we are skimming through this really quickly. So for example, once I've seen your first 2 or 3, I basically get the gist. So make them really powerful, and then I'd use the zoom button. I already get the gist of these ones, and I'll just be looking for the next thing. So I'll be looking for like either topology or something that's slightly different. So for example, your ZBrush sculpts I'll look into, and any layouts you've done. So in terms of the layering system, I guess this doesn't add too much to portfolios. I guess it's demonstrating that you're keeping organized, but as art directors, we really don't care about that. You know, you could be the messiest person in the world and make the greatest kind of art, and we'll still, you know, you'll get your paycheck and you'll get a big thumbs up from us. And then again, yeah, nice to see that you've got like a turnaround. Maybe get some different angles in there so it's going up and down the sword. I think that would really add to it. But overall, in terms of quality, a really cool piece. So everyone come on and follow MTO Kumar and like his work. So if you haven't already, I have an email list where I basically send out loads of free content, loads of free videos, and really vital resources. For example, like a retopology resource with tips and tricks and stuff. So definitely go out, and I'll always send those with a monthly newsletter, along with some free assets like materials and stuff I'll send in the future. And also at the same time, follow me on Twitter. I'll probably be posting more individual tips and tricks that are very quick or just off the top of my head. So if you follow 3D Mutiny there, that's where I'll be posting all those informations. Okay, next we have a 3D Mutiny member called Neeve, who posted in the showcase forum. Now this one was interesting. So I think it's a really high quality piece from the distance as well. But then when I scrolled down, I saw some additional entries. So it seems that you've done your practice sculpts and clustered them all together. So the only thing to be aware of that is that in terms of your portfolio at first glance, we might not see too many examples of sculpts. You got some realism and you got some stylized. Now I think some of these pieces are actually really good, and they could also stand by themselves on their own sort of post. The last thing you want to do is have an art director come in and accidentally miss all the content you've done. So imagine applying for a job and you didn't get it just because the person didn't actually click the thumbnail and scroll down. So maybe you want to take some of these and actually make them fuller portfolio pieces. For example, here, maybe that can be also taken off and enhanced in a specific way. But overall, I think the quality is really good. The next one is from Nathaniel Thompson, who is also an ex-university student of mine and also a Mutiny member, so an extra double up. And he's basically done a little diorama, a little scene here that's stylized. I went onto the portfolio. You actually made a laptop, which was really cool. And we went through a lot of back and forth on how to improve that render, making it sort of like animated flicker. And it seems that you've removed it from the portfolio, but I thought it was a really cool entry. So maybe bring it back or improve it in ways or add to it. I think that would be worth it. But in terms of what you've done already, I think this is a really cool scene. Again, you've got animation in there. You've also got a bit of music that's sort of like alluding to the mood. So as an art director, obviously really interested in the homogeneous mood of things. So that's including things like animation, visuals, colors, signs, and themes. So I think it's all collectively very nice, and definitely something I always love to see on material networks, because that tells me that you understand a little bit more deeply about in-engine materials, especially when we need skills in technicals like technical artists. They're usually quite thin on the ground. So it's always a benefit to see someone who I can entrust in making materials like this, whether it's specific water shaders, material instances, and things like that. So it's nice to see that you've done a bit of a breakdown. The only other thing that I would include is it seems you've got the reference. I put the reference somewhere close to the top. Oh no, you've done it here. So yeah, I put the reference somewhere close to the top just so we can compare the two and see how accurate you've got with it. Overall, really good. So comment to Nathaniel's, likes his post, and also like it on the Discord channel. The next one really grabbed my attention, especially from searching through a thumbnail by Nick Goal. So the reason I clicked on this really quickly is first the kind of level of detail in the hair, especially when you're doing dreads and flyaways. That's actually really hard to do in real time. So certain workflows that we can do to achieve that really nicely. But fundamentally, I think the effect looks really good in real time, and also it's got an amazing sort of render with particles going around and the physics of the hair interacting with each other. I think the fur is looking really cool here. It's got some nice subsurface effects, it seems, coming from other parts of the light with the fire. Also, the light is dynamic. So overall, without explaining it away, it just looks really cool, doesn't it? And like, for God's sake, it's even got some like sniffing animations and eyes moving around. So this is sort of very, very top tier portfolio entry, and it's even in Unreal Engine, which is one of my favorite things. So really high quality work. Everyone should be aiming to go and achieve basically this sort of standard. Obviously, it takes like a couple of years, but if you're interested, definitely come to Nick Goal. He's got some awesome pieces of work, and more excitingly, obviously for me, he started to put more sort of like Unreal Engine shots, which real time is the future. Before I get onto the final showcase, definitely come into the Discords, especially if you're learning Maker, work in progress, and then we can go and review those. If you're interested in getting a little bit excelled, definitely click join below, because we can do some private live sessions, private feedback sessions. I could do some videos more specifically on the areas that you want to work on, or your basically your weak areas. Also at the same time, you know, it's all fundamentally free. So if you click subscribe, you'll always get videos in terms of making Unreal Engine real time, how to get into the games industry. And again, if you're interested in free stuff, definitely follow the email list so I can send out monthly newsletters to you. And basically whenever I find something that's interesting, I do like to send that out to all the members. So definitely go on there and put your email to the list there. So the final one is from Miss Zoo, and the reason this one caught my eye was only because I just finished a TV series watching Better Call Saul. So whenever you're doing these actors or people from TV series, you're basically taking advantage on people's perception of characters. So if they like something, maybe it's like someone they recognize, they're more likely to click it. And if they're more likely to click it, they're going to get more views and likes. So it's usually the thing that people, when they're liking it, it's less about the artwork, but they sort of like the series in combination with your artwork. So you get a little bit more coverage. Not to say that all the likes are just for the series, but it's a nice little booster that puts someone to get your work out there. So I think this is a really cool stylized effect. Obviously, I saw the likeness straight away. We've got some turntables and the render's looking really cool. So the theme of the style is nice as well. You know, you've got like the squaring of the ears, and that sort of language is the same as the collar and the outer collar and things like that. So if you're liking that, definitely come to Miss Zuzu. She's got loads of artworks, scenes focusing sort of like on the female, bordering on kind of like anime style, I guess. But yeah, there's some really nice artworks here, so definitely worth a follow. So that's it, guys. If you want to get featured next month, definitely come into the works and the showcase and post your shots there so everyone can like it and I can definitely see it and start to make comments on it. So keep up the good work, and I'll catch you on the next one.